just push record. Okay. All right. So I am so thrilled to have Rachel on because I just have watched her and she's such a doll. You all are going to love, love, love her. She's full of tips and good information, but I also told her I would love her just to kind of share her story. So I'm going to just let her start off with that, if that's okay with everybody. And I'm going to let her give us a few tips, some struggles, that type of thing. And then we'll hopefully have just a couple of minutes for questions. So if you've got questions, write them down. So I'm going to let you go. Rachel, oh, I love your hair. Oh, so pretty.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is like the curl, the wave that doesn't actually curl. It just kind of like does something. And especially in Colorado, it's like, it kind of just doesn't want to curl, but I make it do it anyways because I'm lazy to blow dry it. So
beautiful.
Anyways, it's just a mess. But thanks for having me on. I'm excited to share my story. And you're very lucky that you have an office. I'm sitting in my downstairs bedroom because we don't have an office. So that's okay. You can work this business from anywhere, right? So that's the good news.
That's right.
I joined this business in 2013, so about 3.5 years ago. It was February. And then the backstory to that, the reason why I joined was because we were broke. My husband and I have been in ministry since I married him at 21. Very young. We just celebrated 11 years on Sunday. So I married a pastor, basically, is what I'm getting to. He was a children's pastor at a church in Texas. And then we lived on the border of Mexico. So he worked in Mexico a lot. He's fluent in Spanish. And I was just amazed by him and his ability to, impact people around him. He was definitely a world changer. And so being married to him was, something I was honored to get to be by his side. But, when you marry someone in the ministry, you're not marrying them for money, obviously. It's going to be like next to nothing pennies, all right? But since we lived on the border town, it was super cheap to live there. I mean, so cheap, you guys. I don't even know how to describe cheap to you, but it was so easy to live there. Gas is cheap, groceries are cheap, homes are, our home was so beautiful, and it was like granite countertops, tile floors, and it was like $100,000. Okay. So you get my idea of cheap, really cheap. And so anyways, that's just how life was there. And we moved to Africa during that time and did missions work there. He was a pastor in Africa for a year, and we helped put in water wells and all of that stuff. I had a 1-year-old daughter at the time when that happened. And so she was 1 to 2. I honestly, to be honest, and I don't always share this part of my story, but maybe I should tonight. Maybe one of you are listening to it need this, but I just always kind of felt like I was in his shadow. Like, he was really successful and very good at what he does. And I really didn't feel any purpose. Like, to be honest, I got married really young, so I didn't get to go to college, and I was looking forward to that because then I got pregnant right away. Like 6 months after we got married, then I was pregnant. And so we weren't near a family, so nobody could watch my kid for me. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. But that was like not a dream for me. Like, other moms, or maybe other girls grow up, and this might be you grew up dreaming about being a mom. Like, you hoped and longed to be this housewife. That was, I talked to girls at high school that did that, and I was like, wow, that's not me, and I was always okay with that, but that happened to me very fast. And so anyways, I was home right away, and I had a baby to raise, and, I'm supporting my husband in ministry, and I just kind of felt like I seriously was just like in the shadow. Nobody noticed me. I was just kind of there. I wasn't passionate about children's ministry. Obviously, I wasn't like dreaming of being a stay-at-home mom. So like, I didn't do that. And so anyways, it was hard for me, but I just was patient, and just did what I was called to do. And so even in Africa, it was the same. Like, I just served, like whatever I could serve, I just served, and that's all I did. And then when we came back from Africa, we really felt like during that time we were there, we really began to see that Jeremy was called to start a church, be a pastor. We just thought maybe it was when we were 40, not when we were in our 20s. So God just kind of has accelerated our calling very quickly. And by, the age of 27, we were him being 27. Speaking of,
Hey, there he is.
there he is.
Hey,
We're
everybody.
telling him our story.
Good to
So
see you.
I got to the point where you can help me finish the story, but I got to the point where I was telling them how we felt like you were called to be a pastor, and so we sold everything and moved in with my mom in Missouri to figure out where we wanted to be. And he worked as a server in a restaurant.
I did.
Yeah. And then I found out I was pregnant with my third. I skipped the second child, but then there was a second child, and then there's a third. So I'm pregnant with my third. We're living in my mom's townhome. He's serving as a waiter, and we finally figure out that we're supposed to go to Colorado. So you can take it from there. I already explained easy expenses versus Colorado's like California too. So we'll just add that in there. Like in expenses, you guys, it's like, so this is why I was telling you about Texas being so cheap. It was like shell shock to us. It was so expensive.
Yeah. You know, we've always just been kind of like, we've always felt like we had the freedom to just go do whatever we felt like we were supposed to do. And God always kind of came through for us. And it was really awesome. But we got here to Colorado and started working our tails off to start this church. And I was working at a call center now, and I was just making like $14 an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
And so for the first time,
and rent was $1,700 a month. So if you do the math, that doesn't even add up.
Bad.
It was
so,
bad.
You know, for the first time in our life, we qualified for food stamps, and we're living, you know, just barely keeping our heads above water. And it's got worse and worse. I mean, we ended up, you know, $30,000 in debt. I had cashed in my IRA, and we had nothing. Bank accounts were empty. Credit cards were maxed out. Like, we just had nothing. And Rachel had come to me already one time asking, you know, telling me about it works and saying, hey, there's this girl that's talking to me about it. And I said no.
You were like, no way.
I was like, no, that's tacky. No, that kind of stuff. It doesn't work anyways. Nobody makes money on
Our
that kind of
sisters
stuff.
tried, you know, network marketing. He's like, it doesn't work. They just do it
I
to
was
make
like,
extra,
big waste of time.
like product stuff.
I was this person who I was like a lot of guys where I had this idea of what a job was and what a job wasn't, and what God would bless and what God wouldn't bless. And I was like, nah, God's going to provide for us, but not like that. And so things got so bad. I mean, we were really struggling. And finally Rachel got to the place where her sister started talking to her about it work. So her sister Melissa had joined. And by that point, if you don't know the Byram girls, so Melissa and Mitch are Presidential Diamonds, and Rachel are ambassadors. These two girls, Melissa and Rachel, the sisters, when they get together, like Mitch and I, my brother-in-law, we just step back because there's nothing we can do. There's no way that we could ever keep that. And so, she joined, and almost immediately it changed our lives. I mean, she made that $99 back right away, which was really important to me. And she worked hard. And I'll tell you, as a husband, the income was awesome. And Rachel can tell you some of the story of like growing in the ranks. But to me, I saw something happen in her that meant a lot to me. So the income was awesome. But then seeing Rachel come alive and start leading this team, and all of a sudden people were flocking to her, and just watching like the words of wisdom that would flow out of her mouth. And she just seemed kind of just really good at this. And it turns out, you know, she was just following the steps to success.
I was following steps to success, and we were making like $500 a month, you know, a month. I got to Ruby at like 6 weeks, and then I was there for 5 months. And Jeremy was like, you're working really hard and you're doing everything they told you to do, but you're like not making that much money. Yeah. So like for the amount of work that you're putting in, you should be making a lot more, and you really should quit.
I'm such a supportive husband.
He was like, you should quit. Because, like, it's taking away from our time. Because don't forget, he was working on a call center 40 hours a week, plus he was trying to start a church.
And we have 3 kids.
And I'm working on my phone now. You know, like, I didn't know how to grow this business. We didn't have all these things then. So, like, I was new to Fort Collins, Colorado. I didn't even know what I was doing. So I was, like, working on Facebook, and I didn't even know that you could do that, really, you know? And so anyways, I was talking in Messenger and asking my friends every day to join me in the business. And I was doing, like, back then, and going into hair salons was a big deal. So like I was going and giving coupons and wrapping salon owners. I mean, and that was on Sundays when he was home because we couldn't afford a babysitter. So he was that, you know, just to help him a little bit. He was like, wow, this girl's working really hard with not like a whole lot of result. I mean, the $500 is a blessing, but seriously, Rachel, you've got 3 kids at home. This is a lot to carry. And I was like, well, you just wait. I was like, so I had vision at that point. I was like, I'm going somewhere. And they announced $10,000 good bonus was back in August.
Which was, can I just say, when I heard that, I was like, wait. $10,000? I mean, because for us, that was half of what we made in a year, or like a third of what we were making in a whole year. I was like, you can get that? Like our income could go up by that?
Yeah.
It was amazing. And I was shocked. I was like, I looked at her and I said, Rachel, we have to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And
I didn't even know I was close, you guys. Like, that's why it's important to ask your upline. Like, Jeb. Okay. He's going to go check out. Will you close that door? No, not that one. The other one.
Yeah.
The bathroom. He was, where was I? Oh, so my train of thought.
Ask your upline about charting. Maybe.
Oh, ask your upline about charting, because I didn't even know I was close to diamond, to be honest. I wasn't that good of a charter, and I didn't know like the ins and outs, the technicalities of charting. And like when I showed her my chart, she was like, you need to go diamond this month. Like my volume was at 10,000. Which, you know, you can maintain diamond with that. Like everything was there, but I was missing a few boxes, like maybe 3 or 4, like to fill in for distributors. And so anyways, without her help, I wouldn't have known to go diamonds. So you always need to ask for help, because I didn't even, like, all I knew to do was say, I'd like to go diamond. And she looked at, like, she started to chart and help me out and was like, you only need 400 in volume to go diamond or something. It was like, it was so still like 600 in volume or something. And she was like, this is how you do it. And that was like at the end of the month. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know you could do that. Okay. And like, I was still ruby. Like I just skipped emerald altogether. So I do think that sometimes people just kind of go along blindly trying to work their business, and you as a person, like if you have any sort of downline, you have to be present with them, helping them chart, you know, because they could be missing an awesome promotion just because they have ignorance, really. But anyway, so I went diamond and the paycheck jumped, you know, up to $2,000. And so we were like, oh my gosh, we're rich. Like, this is amazing. And Jeremy was like, oh my gosh, all your hard work. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I told you to quit. Okay. So that month, then the following month, I went double diamond. And that jumped up to $5,000. And so at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, we're rich. We've never made this much money in our life. Like being married, I'd never seen a $5,000 paycheck. So I thought It Works was like the most amazing company in the world. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm literally just completing my steps to success, and over and over and over every month or more. But at least I was completing it. And then that's where it got me in 6 months' time. And you guys, like I was at the point where it'd be at the end of the month, I'm like, I haven't completed my steps to success. I'd go to salons and wrap salon owners. I signed a salon by doing that. Like I was totally freaked out. I'm not completely extroverted. Like I get nervous, obviously, like anybody else would, going and talking to them. But like I had to fake it till I made it anyways. Like I had to walk in there because I put myself in their shoes. And I imagine somebody walking in trying to pitch this idea. Well, they've got to know what they're talking about. They've got to be a business owner. You know, I just imagine myself in their shoes. And so I tried to just present myself very confidently. And I dress up. I didn't wear It Works stuff. I just dressed up because that's what they do. That's what, when salespeople go into them, they're all dressed up. So I was like, I'm going to dress up. I'm going to tell them I have this amazing body wrap and it's really affordable and they should sell it in their salon. And so anyways, that turned into using that salon as doing wrap nights once a week. So then all of a sudden I had a place to bring people and wrap them. So I was blitzing people and I was like, oh, I'm friends with the salon. You can just meet me there instead of my house. And so, you know, all along, like literally I'm like just stumbling along. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just making things up as I go. Like I'm just winging it, you know? But it worked because I was super excited about the opportunity and I was very motivated, and nobody was going to put out my fire, not even my husband, you know? And like even people in the ministry, you know, from our church down in Texas, I've been unfriended, I've been blocked, I've been like, they've messaged Jeremy and said, I think your wife has been like scammed, or I think someone hacked into her account and is posting as her. Like I've heard everything that you've heard and probably a lot more. So if I can do this, you can too. But you know, the thing is that I knew I was supposed to do it. And I feel like that's how, I was talking about this earlier today, but I feel like that's how everyone should be in this business. You have to cross the line and decide that you're going to go all in. And when you decide that you're going to go all in and you don't ever look back, then that's when all of the amazing things happen. But until you get to that point where you can jump all in and go all in and do everything with all of your heart in this business, and you live it out every single day, and you stop dabbling in it, because what I find most of the time is that people do it like half-heartedly and they don't get very far. But if you can do it with everything in you, and in Spanish they say con ganas, like it means with everything you've got. Like if you can live every single day like that, then, and you apply it to your business, then you will go to whatever rank you want. You can soar to any rank, but I just think that, you know, not everybody goes all in, and that's the kind of attitude you have to have if you want to go diamond, double diamond, triple diamond, presidential ambassador. So I know that conference is coming up, and so I'm just adding a lot of things into my story because I think that it will help you. But I went double diamond in August, and then I sat at double diamond because I promoted from diamond to double really fast. I figured triple would just happen really fast too. And I realized that it was like September, October, November, December, everyone started checking out in my business, you know, like people were getting tired. They were starting to focus on holidays. People were quitting. I was like, what's wrong with everyone? Everybody's like not working like I'm working. What's going on? And so I was like, well, I guess this was it. This is where I'm supposed to land. You know, I was like, I guess this is it for me. And I don't know if you've ever gotten to like executive or Ruby and you're like, well, I guess this is it. I'm just going to settle here. Well, no, you shouldn't settle there. Like you're made for more, and you can push past whatever, you know, roadblock you're feeling. And so for me, going to conference was really important for that. And I wasn't going to go to a conference. I had such a bad, you guys, I was the person, I was with Jeremy, and the fact that like network marketers, like I was like, I don't do that thing. We got suckered into like going to a party one time for a Mary Kay party. I'll just be open right now, but we got suckered into it. And then like we thought we were going to a dinner. Jeremy and I both went to a dinner that turned into a Mary Kay party that turned into us soaking our feet with like, you know, bubbles and salts and stuff. And I was like, Jeremy was like, what is going on? Why am I sitting in a circle soaking my feet with girls? Like it was pink tubs. This is so weird, you know, and there's some other husbands there too. And so anyways, like I was really turned off because I was lied to. So I showed up to a dinner party and I was lied to, and it turned out to be another party. And so for me, I was like, oh, I don't like, you know, these home business sort of things or whatever. So when I joined It Works, I didn't buy a t-shirt ever until like 6 months into the business. And one of my teammates actually said, you need a shirt. I'm going to order it for you. And I was like, okay, you know, and so then I like started buying everything. I'm even wearing one today. So I've got my shirt on, but, you know, it was like a process for me. And then going to conference, I was like, no, I'm not going to conference. I don't do that. And Jeremy was like, you need to go. You have team going. You have some people going on your team and you're not even going. I was like, no, I don't do that. I don't need that, you know? And he was like, yes, you do. So you can come back in. So anyways.
The kids are still alive. We're good to go.
He was like, you've got to go to conference. And that was.
Yeah. You know, I knew from my sister. So my sister was in a different company that isn't really doing super well, but I knew from her coming back from their conferences, she was so on fire. And my mom was a part of that company for a little while too. Every time they would come back, so on fire. And I had known enough about Mark and Cindy, and we had heard from Pam and Mike. And I was like, you know what? These people are going to put on a fantastic conference. It's just like, you know, anytime you get a group of people together, it's kind of like why we go to church in a way, right? And I know maybe not everybody watching this goes to church, and that's okay. But like if I pray by myself, that's cool. But if I get together with a whole bunch of people, it's so powerful, and I leave so encouraged. And there's something about you working in your business 360 days a year, all by yourself, and then coming together with thousands and thousands of other people to celebrate, to party, to laugh, to learn. And that's always when they're launching new countries, launching new products, launching new promotions.
It's just so exciting.
It's powerful.
You know? And yeah, he was like, you have to go.
And you know what? Can I say one other thing? conference has always paid for itself multiplied. So the kind of energy and impact that we get from her going to conference, the first time we went, we could barely afford it.
We couldn't. I actually put it on a credit card.
But
so even at Double Diamond, I mean, I was just covering our bill. It's so expensive to live here, you guys. Like, I was just covering our bills, and he was still working full time.
But the boom, we call it the boom season, don't we? Every time conference is over, that is the boom season. And if you have been there, it's like downloading pure adrenaline and energy and joy into your heart, and it is going to pay for itself. I promise. And not only that, the most valuable thing, to be honest, is getting your team there. Because when we've had super high numbers of our teammates there, we've convinced them to come, or we've done promotions and different things to try to get them there. Gosh, that means that not only are you excited, but the people that you're working with are excited, and man, it can really boost your paycheck in huge ways. Ways.
And I can relate, because I always feel like, oh, how do I encourage these people who are already feeling like, how are we making ends meet? How can I afford to go? And I always say, just go. But in your heart, you're like, oh, I hope they feel the same way. And every time, everybody comes back like, wow, that's amazing. So I agree. I think getting plugged in like that is so crucial to your business.
It is. It really does. And like being there, I just realized like, wow, I am made for more. I shouldn't settle for Double Diamond. Don't settle for executive or Ruby or Emerald, whatever you've hit.
Well, what happens is you see these people and you're like, wait, they're presidential? I got this. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but you're like, what? Yeah. Okay, totally. This
that happened on the cruise. I was on the cruise, and I was sitting next to someone, and they were like, and so what are you? And I was like, I'm presidential. And they're like, what? And they're like head spun around like 5 times. What? Like, yeah, the unlikely ones. You never know. So yeah, anyone can do this business, as they say.
Yes, anyone can. And so I went from like, you guys, when I came back from conference, I realized I wanted more, and I was made for more. And like just being kind of plateaued at a level doesn't mean that you can't push past it. And so I went from double to triple diamond in 2 months. And I just like, seriously, it was like the waters parted, and I was running as fast as I could through it. And then 4 months later, I went March, April, May, June, July. Yeah. 4 months later, I went presidential diamond. And I mean, seeing these paychecks, you guys, you remember we were on food stamps like a year before.
So all of a sudden, five-digit paychecks was like.
Yeah, I mean, like $17,000. That was like all we ever made, Like, I mean, we like made like $20,000 a year or something like that. So, I mean, seeing that in 1 month, we seriously just bawled our eyes out, and we realized at that moment we'd gotten into $30,000 of debt from living here. We were debt free when we moved here, and then we collected $30,000 of debt trying to survive. Yeah. It's so expensive, and so, when we saw that presidential diamond paycheck, we were like, we can go debt free. Like we can become debt free. And that was the moment where we realized Jeremy quit his job and was able to go into full time starting our church. We were already doing it full time. So it just wasn't managing it while him working a full time call center job and trying to pastor. And so he was able to quit his job and go full time as a pastor. We paid off all our debt that year. So I went from like struggling at double diamond to triple diamond to presidential diamond to him quitting his job to then paying off all of our debt by the end of the year. And so we went into the new year, that following year, completely debt free. And that was last year. And so I went to conference again, and 2 months later, again, I went ambassador. Wow. So I've been ambassador since, and strong. And this business has completely changed our life. We just bought a house, you guys, and trying to buy a house is like California. You don't get much for what you pay. Yeah. So, I mean, trying to buy something here, it was like, I literally, before I joined this business, I was like, wow, we're just going to live the rest of our life going into debt and renting. Like, we're just going to throw hundreds of $1,000s away and rent every, for the years to come, because, we're committed to Colorado for as long as God has us here. And so like, that's for life for us for now, And so I was just like, we're never going to get ahead. We're just like behind. And, just to be able to be in a place where like, wow, We could pay off our debt.
Yeah.
You know, we can pay off our cars. We can live in a home. Like, we actually were able to save enough to have a down payment for a home. And on top of that, we have land that we'd like to buy or build our dream home on. And recently, I mean, I don't know if any of you follow me, but I had posted a lot about my land. And then recently we decided that we want to sell our land and buy a cabin in Estes Park. So this is how crazy we are. You know?
You just go with the flow.
We go up to like this place called Estes Park. It's Rocky Mountain National Park. It's really famous, but we go up there probably like 4 times a month. And if we had a place there, we'd go up there every weekend, probably like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we decided that we could invest in
2
that.
houses is better than 1 big house.
Yes. Yeah. So, and we're really excited about that opportunity and what it can bring. But the fact that we could get ahead is just a place where I never could even dream of that. And so I really think that dreaming is really important in this business. You have to dream, but you also have to have drive.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
so
nobody's
like
with me.
there was anybody that was exempt, like being a pastor's wife. Did you feel like, oh, I can't ask her, or I can't talk to them, or did you ever have that kind of a struggle?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy was like, Rachel, you can't post before and after pictures on Facebook. You can't do any of that. And so like he put like some obstacles in my way, but I was convinced that I was going to get over it anyways. And it ended up helping my business
really?
instead of, you know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, oh my goodness, check out these amazing results in the comments. And so, cause I was like, well, he said I couldn't do that. Or he just didn't want me to post publicly before and after pictures, but I could put them in the comments, or I could like, I'd rap and I'd be like, wow, I had the most amazing rap results. Message me if you'd like to see them. And so what I was doing was actually I was creating intrigue instead of like just posting these things that people didn't necessarily want to see. And so it ended up helping to my benefit. He didn't even know that. So anyways, yes, I mean, and like I said, I had people unfriend me and block me, and it's been so sad, but I've known in my heart that God wanted me to do this. And I think for a long time, I just sat in the shadows, not doing anything, not impacting anyone, but I really wanted to be a world changer. I really wanted to impact my community, not like on a global perspective, but I wanted to impact my community. I want to help reach people's lives. And I think God knew that inside my heart. And I was ready to, bust out of that shadow living and actually like feel like I'm contributing to my community and contributing to women and contributing. And so I think that, we all have to carry that sort of mindset, because this business is so much about other people. It's not like, we do have to have drive. We have to have our dreams. But when it comes to day to day, you always have to be thinking about other people. Like, oh, I need to message this person because what if she's been praying like Rachel was about this business and just needs someone to reach out to her.
Right.
Or what if this person, and then just so you know, like if you happen to message somebody and that person signs with someone else, that was me. But I want you to know that the person that messaged me that I scooped ice cream with as a teenager, she's still doing this business. She's a top 100 income earner, and she's a presidential diamond. So with that said, still success is possible even when you don't get who you want on your team or things didn't go the way that you expected them to. If you have the will and the drive, you're going to succeed with this. Because it's that passion.
It's a bigger plan, right? Don't you feel like it's already all mapped out for us? We resist it sometimes, but I feel like, why am I not sharing this with people when it's an act of kindness? Like it actually saved you because you found yourself, you found your purpose more so in a better version of you. And I feel like it probably strengthened your marriage. And monetarily, of course, but I feel like so much more of what is important in life is all of what you've just said. It's not as much about the dollar. Yes, that's what people enroll for, but why they stay and what really the benefit is from and what they find in their hearts. Do you do personal development? We've talked about this a lot, that we feel like that is such an important thing. Do you do that every day? Or I'm sure you probably do.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I read. I have a lot of responsibilities. That's why, I feel like if I can do this and get to where I got with It Works, that you can too, because I have the responsibility of a pastor's wife. Like, I'm leading a women's retreat this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm spearheading it. It's the first one we've ever had. And we're meeting after we're done with this. And so it's like, you have to juggle your time right. But you also have to make time for yourself. And I always call this soul care. And I tell my team that soul care is really important because one, you have to decide and cross the line that you're never going back. Like that is just something that you have to decide, because if you want to go to the top, then you have to sell out, like in a way you're not sold out yet, and then to take it one step further, once you're sold out, then you need to take time to take care of your soul. So soul care, treat yourself well. So if soul care for me looks like a hike. The mountains are right behind my back door. So I can hike some well-known hikes in Fort Collins, and I'll do the same ones over and over again. And they're hard and they push me, but the view at the top is worth it every time. And I unplug. I can turn my phone on to airplane mode. If I want to work, I can, but I can listen to music and go sit there and pray. Or I like to go to see at movies by myself. Like, if you sell a wrap, you've got wrap cash. And if you need a break, tell your husband, or tell your wife. I can't see everybody that's on the call, but, tell your spouse, like, hey, I really need a break and I'll help you put the kids to bed, but do you mind if I go to a movie by myself? Because we can't afford a babysitter right now, right? So it's like soul care. I love to go watch movies by myself. I know it sounds silly, but like that's just, there's different, sometimes I like to go get a pedicure, but those things kind of just fill my cup, or reading a good book. I really feel like that's important because that's going to help create longevity for you in this business.
Right. So talk about selling a wrap. I hear so many times people say, well, how do I go about asking? And I always say, would you like to buy a wrap? Or, talk about that, because I think you get a lot from Wrap Cash.
Yeah, you definitely do create a lot from Wrap Cash. And I think it's just being consistent. Like what I do a lot of times, I might make a friend at a park or when I'm out, or if Jeremy and I are on a date, I'll blitz the waitress or whatever, but I may never pull out my card. What I'll do is that I'll just be like, I really think that you would do great. I just approach it all with business, so then they don't get offended by me telling them, whatever. Coupons are always great, but still, like, somebody's been like, are you calling me fat? And I'm like, no, not at all. Oh my gosh. Like, I just know everyone loves these. I don't know. Like, I wasn't looking. Anyways. So my approach has always just been like, hey, I think that I have an amazing business and I really think that you would do great at it too. I'd love to sit down at coffee with you and tell you more about it if it's something you're interested in. I don't know about you, but I'm all about making more money. And this is a way that you could make even more money than, waitressing. So it could be awesome. You could just add it right in. And so usually they're like, oh, really? What's it called? Or I was like, It Works Global. It's a health and wellness company. And I just think that you'd love it. Like, I love your personality. And so then they're like, well, that's really nice. Thanks. And I was like, okay, well, let's swap phone numbers. Or I might just say, well, do you have Facebook? I'll just send you some more information on it. And then we'll see if we want to get together for coffee. So then I have them hooked in because they don't know me yet. And so I just have them on friends on Facebook. And I mark them as close friends. So then I always see their posts first. And then that way, then I'm always seeing their stuff and I'm engaging, I'm liking and commenting. And then, they're going to be seeing my stuff. So if I post a before and after picture or I post a health testimony, they may be like, hey, can I get a wrap? They know who the girl to go to is with the wrap. And I'm like, yeah, do you want to stop by my house? I'll put it on you, Yeah. So that's my approach. Or, they end up signing up as a loyal customer and I never even wrapped them. So I also like meeting people that are local and putting them onto Facebook. Well, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Could somebody maybe mute the phone?
You want me to mute everybody and unmute you again?
Yeah.
There now. Are you?
Okay. Yep, that's good. So I lost my train of thought. Oh, I just like to get people plugged into my Facebook that are local, or if I travel, I'll try to make a friend and I may never talk to them about the business. I just want to be friends with them on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So if that means if I'm reading their personality, I try to filter through yellow, red, blue, or green. And by the end of my time before we separate, my goal is to get them on Facebook as a friend. Because it takes time to build that relationship with them. And I feel like if I meet somebody brand new, it takes me from 3 to 6 months. So if I'm always plugging people in, by the 3-month part, like if you just start doing this now, by 3 months, you're going to start signing all these people, whether they're customers or distributors. And so like I have a big local team just by doing that.
Yeah. So talk about mom guilt, because I know there's a lot of people on here that are moms, and, you know, like you said, you're busy, clearly very busy, and you have 3 small children. And so talk about that, how you deal with that.
Well, you know, I think my sister was one of those girls that was always dreaming about being a mom. I don't have as much mom guilt because it was like never like the first thing. Like I love my kids to pieces. But there's like a whole lot of me to be able to, like, I love women's ministry. I love doing it work. So it wasn't as guilty, but I definitely have like known people, like even my sister, she's a presidential diamond, that feel bad. And so I think there's times where you get really good. And even me, like they were really little 3.5 years ago. Okay. Like my youngest one is about to be 5 in November. So just take away 3.5 years. Right. And then my boys are 18 months apart. So they're pretty close together. So all of the kids were at home when I started It Works, and I really had to balance my time. So like when they would wake up, I'd give them breakfast and then put on a show for them. And I had to be really focused. So I was like, I really want to talk to these 4 girls in Messenger. I'd have a list written out of people I wanted to talk to. So I'd write them little letters, really thoughtful messages, and send it to them and hope that they'd respond. And then I'd put my phone away and hang out with my kids. And then, we'd go to a park, and I'd work my business from my phone while they were at the park or something. And then I'd lay them down for a nap or have quiet time. And then I would work my business. So I just wasn't doing me time anymore until the night.
Yeah.
So I stopped, like, you know, because I feel like even as moms, there's moments where you take breaks from your kids, you know, so instead of my breaks, I would just spend time working this business.
Sure.
And that was just creating a discipline. Like I always watched The View in the morning. I don't even know if that's still a show, but I used to watch The View like every morning because it was just my little time. And then I loved Food Network in the afternoon when they were taking naps. I'd always watch Food Network every single day, and I'm really good at cooking. I am. So I love, those just filled my cup. But when I started this business, I gave all of that up. I didn't watch The View anymore. That was the last time I watched The View, was when I first started this business.
Really?
I haven't watched it ever since. That's why I said I don't even know if it's still playing. I don't ever watch TV. Sometimes at night, like by 9:45, I'm done and unplugged. And I like tap in. I'm in and out and in and out. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like part of my life. Right. But like by 9:45, I'm like, phone is off. I'm watching a show with Jeremy. We're just going to hang out. Or 9:30 or 9, like it just depends on my day. You know, every day is different. If I'm doing a Zoom, then maybe it's from 8 to 9 or something like that. But I just live with It Works, incorporate it into my life. When it's not as busy, I'm not going to push it. I'm going to enjoy the moments of it being more calm. But my consistent, steady work habits are the same every single day.
I feel like from what you're saying is that you give your all to that person or to that event or whatever you're planning. You give that, and you don't like go back and think, oh, I should have given more. You just know you gave them 20 minutes. And I feel like that's a big part of that whole guilt is like, no, you know, I spent 2 hours with my kids or my grandkids or whatever. And now I'm moving on. I'm doing this business for those people too. And they know that.
And I've always heard like quality is better than quantity. There's so much proof out there on that. I mean, so many it's just proven. You too. Same with you. You could be with your husband all day long, but if you don't have the quality, meaningful time, then it's not going to mean as much. So if you just take time, even if it's like 30 minutes of focused time with your kid, and like at night, now that my daughter's at school, she's in 4th grade now. Like at night when she's, you know, wanting to do her own thing and unplug herself. But by the time she's laying down in bed, she and I sit there and we'll talk for 30 minutes. And that's unplugged time. And do you know what she's going to have a memory of? Are those really special bedtime talks. Exactly. You know, or the times where we go and travel or go up to Estes Park. There's not as good reception up there. like there's reception in town, but if we go on a hike or do something like that. So you just have to choose what's good for you, because my kids are going to remember traveling. They're going to remember me on my phone. And that was something we talked a lot about, like at the beginning. And Jeremy's like, all the kids are going to know. This is when we were like kind of having our like tiff and like, you should quit. No, and he was like, they're just going to always remember you on your phone. And I'm like, no, they're going to remember me on my phone because I changed our family's life. And so you have to always remember like what you're working for and what you're going after. And I knew that I was going to change my family's life with this business. And yeah, they're going to remember me on my phone.
Right. That's
where I created income. So they have to also know that. And I've been very clear with them. Mommy works from her phone. Mommy works from her phone. And you know what? Just because I'm home full time with you guys, most mommies are gone from 9 to 5.
Right.
So you wouldn't ever even see me. And so knowing that mommy works from her phone, you have to remember that. And there's going to be moments where we can play, but there's going to also be moments where I need to work, So they know that. And I think they're in that routine now. But we also wouldn't be buying the house that we could buy. We also wouldn't be debt free. We also wouldn't be able to travel and get to go back to Africa. We did that last year. Never be able to afford that. We went to India, and we treated ourselves by flying first class to India just because we wanted to experience it. You can never even do things like that. You guys, we left like $7,000 in Africa because there was a horrible flood. That was not even on our radar. We could never even give to anything before. We were just trying to survive ourselves. We needed people to give to us. It was like complete opposite. And it was like a place where I was like, gosh, Lord, I hope that one day I can give big and give back. And because people have been so generous to me, and I hope that one day I can be so generous to other people. We were able to give Jeremy's Jeep away. These are things that I don't talk about like on Facebook. So you never know this, but it's okay to tell you here. But like, even we had Jeremy's Jeep, we owned it, we paid it off and we didn't owe anymore. We gave it to one of the girls at our church that her car broke down. She couldn't have a way. She works all the time, takes care of her family, and we gave it to her.
Wow.
We just gave it to her. And then we got Jeremy a truck, but like being able to just give instead of selling it for like $2,000, we were able to do that. And when you can live in a place of generosity, it trumps the guilt, because we're made to give, we're made to live. And I think that sometimes we get all of our priorities mixed up. So if we can truly give our heart and quality time to our kids or to our spouse, and the other times you're like, no, I'm serious about my business, then I just don't know anyone who didn't work hard who's successful. Right. Like, I don't know anyone. My uncle's like, he makes millions and millions every year. My mom's brother. And he works so hard and he travels. He's always traveling. Okay. So like, I'm with my family more than he is with his, but he works hard. And so I think that I've just always seen that as an example. I see people and they work hard and they're successful because they work hard. And so if you want to be successful, you're going to have to, commit to some things. And maybe, you might have a little bit of that guilt, but is it going to bring you freedom that you absolutely need? Because when you put your head down at night, are you crying yourself to sleep? Is it worth it? Because it wasn't to me, because I was there. I just was sick and tired of being so stressed out about finances that I was like, I'm going crazy with this thing because our family needs it. So.
I always feel like, too, that this business allows us to be more present in our lives. And there may be times where you feel like, oh, I'm working from my phone or I'm doing this. But all in all, I am way more present in my life and spending quality time with people that truly matter to me. And I always go back to that thought that they're not going to remember what you said, but they are going to remember how you've made them feel. And so laying down with your daughter and talking to her for 30 minutes, she won't remember what you talked about, but she'll remember that you gave her a few minutes, and you didn't have to spend 3 days with her, and you didn't have to be stressed out and say, oh, I should be working. You're working and you're still giving her quality time. I think that's so important for us to remember.
Yes, it is. And it really will make a difference for you. So, don't be afraid of working hard, because that's where success comes from. And don't forget too, like there's a season where I was working really hard and I wasn't, yielding the results that I wanted to see and that Jeremy wanted to see. But I knew that if I kept doing this, that it was working and it was growing.
Yeah.
So, and just knowing that, like, be comfortable in your mind too. Because, like, there are moments where you're like, I'm amazing at this. And you're like, I suck. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. My team is quitting. Oh my goodness, I'm so good. Oh, this is hard. I want to quit, you know? And so, like, there's these moments where, like, you have to, like, control your thoughts too, because, like, our thoughts are all over the place all the time. Well, at least, okay, maybe you are, but I am. Like, no, I think that's legit. Maybe you girls aren't, but, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, it's not. So anyways, like, you know, we are on this, like, roller coaster, I think, as women. And so we just kind of have to be like, okay, regardless of how I feel, I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. Like, regardless of how I feel today, I'm going to push. Regardless if I want to post or not, I'm going to figure out a way to post. If I don't even have any inspiration in me, I'm going to go look up somebody who does. I'm just going to take their thing and, you know, use a picture like theirs or whatever. Like, you know, you get past those days, and then the other days you're walking on clouds. And so it's easy for you. But on the days that it's not, you push anyways. And that's really where success comes from.
Exactly. Oh, such wise words from such a young girl. That's so true. This will be just like menial kind of stuff, but a question that comes up periodically, placing your loyal customers and your distributors. Your thoughts on that? Do you place to promote? How do you place? Or does that change? You do personality.
I was with Cam Souter today, and this question came up, so I'm just going to give you her answer because she's way wiser than I am.
Yeah.
She said that she does not place to promote, or that she doesn't recommend it. So, she said that, you know, that people are all across the board with this, but she really believes in building wide until you find 5 people. I'm just literally telling you what she said. I'm not going to give you my opinion here. But she said build wide until you find 5, which just makes perfect sense. Until you find 5 people who are like gung-ho, all in. They're signing customers. They're signing distributors. Once you find your 5, then you start placing with them. You help them promote. And they're going to need to do the same thing. They need to find their 5. And once they find their 5, then you can help place and sign distributors with them. So if everybody's jiving on the same level, then you're going to build a strong business instead of one that could crumble. Because she was like, I don't believe in building people to Ruby because they won't keep Ruby if they don't really want it. And so, or Diamond. So it's better to build a business that's longer lasting, that takes you longer to build, than something that's like built and then like, because nobody wants to do it. You know, she basically, she's just saying, work with the people who really want it.
Right.
And then you're going to build a successful business that's lasting.
That's true. Still promote, you'll still place to promote though if you find somebody that wants it. So
yes.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I mean, this is how I build anyways. Like I did exactly what she said. Even like when I went ambassador, they gave me a 2.0 to open up. So basically Rachel distributor started over again and I get to create a whole new paycheck. Right. And so I did the same thing. I built like really wide until I found a few. I just wanted to find 2, honestly. So I signed like 8 or 9 people. And then out of those 8 or 9, I was like, oh, good. There's some people signing some customers and distributors are actually doing what I told them to do. And when I found them, then I started just focusing all my effort just down those teams. And so, you know, my 2.0 is a really strong diamond headed towards double. But I'm not going to push anything prematurely because I want it to be strong. I want to create true residual income. So I think it is good to be patient. But being patient means you are completing your steps to success,
right?
You know, and yes, you have to definitely, it's just consistency. Yeah. I work my business Monday through Friday and mostly like part of the time Saturday. And then I don't do anything Sunday because we have church. Yeah. So I do take breaks though. And there's moments where I'm like, I want to go to Estes Park. Like I went up last week and I spent the whole day up there. I worked from a coffee shop in the morning. Then I drove around. I did a hike by myself. So like I worked, I unplugged, I did things that fill my cup. And so like I do that every day. You know, today I went to a coffee shop because I was like, oh, going to a coffee shop sounds nice. So I had some tea and a quiche. That was my lunch. And then I sat and I worked on my computer. And then we Zoomed with Pam this afternoon from my house. But like, I don't know. I mean, some people do really well with scheduling out their time. I do really well living day to day. I'm like, I write it down on the calendar, but then I'm not looking at it again. Like, I'm like, okay, how am I going to be successful today? So I'm not trying to figure out how to be successful like this week. I'm trying to be successful for the day. And if I can put all my heart into that one day, then we made it to the end of the night and I can sleep well.
Yeah.
You know, and I start over tomorrow and I'm like, okay, what am I doing today? Like, I'd love to sign a customer. I'd love to sign a distributor. What is it going to take for me to get that done? You know, and then I'd love to encourage my team. Even if I've got 3 people on my team, I want to encourage them. I want to text them. I want to call them. I'm not going to do it in a group because I want to be thoughtful. You know, if you've got 3 or 4 people on your team, then do one-on-ones. You know, call them, be like, what are you doing? How are you doing? So anyways, I feel like that's important too. And it just kind of becomes a rhythm in your life. And then everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah. Well, and the energy, you definitely have the energy. And I feel like that's so important that people have to feel that from you. Like if somebody called me and it's like, how are you? But you know, if Rachel called me and she's like, well, how are you? And let's go for a hike. Or, you know, I mean, they have to feel your energy and feel that you are in the right place and they want to be in that place with you. So yeah.
Yeah. And people just need to know that you believe in them. So if you're working to sign distributors and you're having a hard time, a lot of people, you can answer the same questions over and over and over because most people are afraid to commit to something. They're afraid that they're going to fail. You know, there's just the same things, or it's hard to come up with the $99 because they're broke. Well, we've all been broke. So give them some ideas of how to, you know, make enough money to then sign up, sell something out of their house or do something like that, you know, and then, but the same thing. So I typically try to say, look, if I can get them on the phone, I can usually sign them up, but I'm like, look, you know, on a scale from 1 to 10, how are you feeling? You know, where are you at? And if they're like, well, you know, I'm an 8, I'm just afraid that I'm not going to find enough people to sell to. And be like, well, you don't have to worry because there's billions of people on the planet and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. You're not going to be alone and I'm going to be here to coach you. So that's why, like, you don't have to be afraid because I'm going to be with you every step of the way. And there's an amazing team. And I even have, you know, we've even got an awesome page that you can plug yourself into and learn and grow from. So, anyways, just comforting somebody is really helpful. And then I always ask the question. So what do you think? Do you want to get started today? People just need to be led down the road. A lot of times we don't realize that we leave a conversation, with a question, like with it ever being answered, you know? And so like, if you always leave your conversation with a question mark, like asking them directly, then you're going to actually get an answer back, you know? And so anyways, I always try to tell my team, ask a question, you know, and like, how can I help you? What can I do for you? How will this change your life? Are you ready to get started today? And those questions keep conversations flowing and going.
Exactly. Does anybody have a question since she's talking about that? Anybody have a question you want to unmute and ask Rachel quick, or is everybody good? Anybody? Raise your hand. Question? No? See, you've covered it all. Well, we so appreciate you, Rachel. It was awesome to have you on. And now you're going to go on to some church. You're going to do a church thing, right?
Yeah, I'm going over to my mom. She lives right down the street. She moved here to help us too with the church.
Wow.
So all of us, there's like 5 of us girls. We're going to, you know, finish up all the details because the retreat starts on Friday evening. So.
Well, I adore you. I appreciate you so much for being on and filling up our tanks again. And I think, is it next week? I can't remember. I'm on yours. So we'll talk again. Yay.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys have a good night. It was so good to chat with you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.